Who would win? Every single Pokemon or 1 billion lions? The answer to this question is a lot more simple than folks make it out to be. Yes, under neutral conditions, 1,000 Pokemon would body 1 billion lions, just because they have flying types. But I think this question actually depends on if there's background music, because if those lions heard Robin's song, they'd absolutely lock in. Robin is the first character in Honkai Star Rail to actually be real. If you need further evidence, she's putting out a whole album for you to get bullied by your friends for listening to. If you're a fan of Robin, today I'm going to be going over everything there is to know about her, from why she's broken to her best builds and teams. My name is Braxophone, and let's talk about Robin. Remember Ruan Mei, that character that's known for being one of the best supports in the game and revolutionized team building, allowing for double DPS teams? Yeah, me neither. Robin's skill gives your whole team a huge damage bonus for 3 turns, which also means she can be SP positive if you want her to be, though her energy generation is lower that way, because not only is her skill giving 30 energy instead of 20, one of her traces makes her skill give her an additional 5 energy. And I'm gonna be honest, Robin has worse fuel economy than the average Texan. Her ult costs 160 energy, but luckily she has other effects from her talent that help get her ultimate up. For example, when allies attack, she gets 2 more energy back. Oh man, my DPS just took their turn, but I'm really close to killing that enemy. And the music right now is just kind of mid. If only there was a way to... Robin not only enables double DPS teams, but she acts as a team-wide Bronya with her ultimate, where she moves your team's action forward by 100%. This is actually huge for the 7 people in the community who do 0 cycle clears. When she uses her ultimate, she walks down the stairs and says her tagline. Then she gives your entire team a massive attack buff based off of her attack, and removes herself from the turn queue. She gets replaced by a 90-speed concerto countdown, which is how long her buffs will last. While she's singing and you attack, she sends 30 missiles to the enemy's location. The missiles have a set 100% crit rate and 150% crit damage, and they are very EP. Her damage is actually pretty significant, especially considering the fact that it's after every ally attack. So the faster your teammates are, the more value you get out of her buffs and her extra damage. But Robin's personal speed doesn't really matter. While Robin is in her ult, she can't be CC'd, which means she's basically immune to stun from anything but your search history. But what's even better than that is that during her singing, she is passively gaining energy towards her next ultimate from your allies' attacks, even though she herself is not taking a turn. And I know I just listed about 15 things that her ultimate does, but her ultimate has one more effect. With her second major trace, her allies that launch follow-up attacks get 25% crit damage increases to those attacks, which gets even crazier when you consider her talent. Robin's talent is similar to that one character I don't remember the name of. It gives a passive stat bonus with no requirements at all, a bunch of crit damage to your whole team, and 2 energy back for every ally attack, which I mentioned earlier, but I'm saying it again in case you were an iPad kid. When combining her level 10 talent and skill with follow-up units, those characters are getting a massive attack buff, 45% crit damage bonus to follow-ups, and 20% crit damage to non-follow-ups, 50% damage bonus, and an extra attack at the start of every ultimate. I know she's really pretty, but she also fits in really well with the people that take your hard-earned money. At this point, she is currently the strongest character for buffing the IRS. Her technique gives her 5 energy back after every wave of enemies, which honestly isn't anything super crazy, and you might end up not using it if you have a better dimension technique. Her third major trace gives her 25% action forward at the start of a fight. And lastly, her basic attack throws sunshine and rainbows and music and wonderful things and makes people fall horrendously in love with her. You want to level everything but her basic attack, but you can level her skill first, then her ultimate, and then her talent. Robin throws out an insane amount of buffs, and her action forward, in addition to her stat buffs that are applicable to most characters in the game, makes her a timeless and powerful unit. But you do have to build her kind of a specific way, so let's talk about that next. Birds are born with no shackles, and gambling addicts are born with no self-preservation skills. Your relic rolls are indicative of who you are as a person. If you rolled all defense, you should probably seek therapy. However, if you roll all attack, you should pull for Robin. Since Robin is an attack scaling character and her ultimate damage has fixed crit stats, you don't have to worry about building her like a DPS. She'll just do solid damage by being a support. For her relic sets, you want to give her as much attack as possible. That can be done by mixing 2-piece attack sets like Wild Wheat and Prisoner in Deep Confinement, and yes, I actually mean Prisoner this time. You can also go with a 4-piece street boxing set for physical damage and some attack, but I like mixed attack better just because you get to pick your substats a little bit easier. And lastly, you can also mix 2-piece Messenger for speed builds. For planar sets, I recommend going with Sprightly Von Walk or Penacony for energy, since she needs a lot to use her ultimate. It has a lot of different energy sources. If you go with Sprightly, odds are she will basically always go first, even if her speed is the lowest on your team, due to the action forward on it, plus the 25% action forward she gets from her passive. It's great for getting her skill up turn 1. You can also go with Space Sealing Station for the highest buff and solid damage, but ultimately it's up to you and what sort of content and team you're running with. As far as main stats go, you want an attack chest, attack or speed boots, attack or physical damage orb, and an energy regen rope. I'd honestly recommend getting between 118 and 125 speed on Robin, but it's not a huge deal on her. Just good for Space Sealing Station and for how turns work out. Since Robin's speed doesn't really matter unless you play 180 hyperspeed zero cycle Robin, I recommend going attack on the boots for the most buffs to your team. And for the orb, physical damage will help her dish out more damage on her own, but the attack buff from her will be bigger with an attack orb, and especially in dual DPS, it makes a bigger difference. Here's an overall build summary based on both my testing and theory crafting. These sort of sets with these stats will get you the strongest Robin for content outside of zero cycling. But if you're zero cycling, you definitely don't need to watch this video anyways. Robin D's nuts. There are a ridiculous amount of Harmony light cones in Star Rail, with all of them doing something crazy, like give a skill point back whenever you defeat Yenching on a Tuesday afternoon at your local library after your favorite streamer Braxophone enters new VTuber Twitch stream at twitch.tv/AshAlric. And there's also ones that just give you free stats. Robin's signature light cone gives her an energy regen bonus whenever an ally attacks, up to a max of 15%. And whenever she uses her ultimate, that energy regen disappears in exchange for 48% more attack and 24% more team damage bonus, all at S1. It seems really good on paper, because it is really good on and off paper. But it's hard to justify pulling on a light cone for a character when Omniverse is literally handing us a free light cone on a silver platter that's meant for Robin. The new free-to-play light cone for Tomorrow's Journey is insanely good value on Robin. It gives her a 32% attack bonus unconditionally and a 30% damage bonus after ulting. It also has a high base attack, meaning that Robin's attack sharing with your team can be very strong, even for free-to-play players. Technically, it's not always her second best light cone, but it is the best 100% free-to-play option, and if you're pulling for Robin, you definitely don't want to miss it. But The Battle Isn't Over is a great light cone choice since it gives energy regen, a skill point back sometimes, and a damage bonus to the next acting character, which works well with Robin's ultimate, or maybe just in general if Robin's the slowest character on your team. It also has a 5-star base attack, which helps her with her buffs. Other light cones that work are Planetary Rendezvous with a physical damage dealer, Carve the Moon, Weave the Clouds is good in general, Memories of the Past can work too if you have that at S5. I wouldn't recommend Meshing Cogs because even though it gives energy back, it also has a very low base attack, which means that whenever it comes to killing enemies, your team will have commitment issues. So overall, I'd highly recommend For Tomorrow's Journey for free-to-play players, unless you're Robin's #1 fan. Otherwise, her light cone is pretty skippable.
Building teams for Robin is easier than getting a business degree. She's a very, it goes in the square hole character. As another absolutely jacked Harmony character, Robin delivers on a ton of different stats that most characters in the game can use. Now, obviously, the premier team for Robin is going to be the IRS team, where Robin can buff Dr. Ratio, Topaz, and Aventurine all together. All of these units use follow-up attacks and get bonuses to the crit damage because of Robin, and even Aventurine himself is going to be dishing out some extra damage because he is built like a DPS who is also a preservation character. So with the damage bonus going to all 3 of these damaging units, the crit damage going to all 3 of these units that can all hit crits, all in all, this team ends up being insanely good, and Robin just makes it even better. Because she thrives in double DPS, you can use other team comps as well, like for example, if you want to use our general with someone like Fushwan who can buff the crit rate of Topaz and Jingyuan, and Robin who can buff their crit damage. This is just an option that you have. I'm not going to claim it's the best team or anything, but if you like to play our general, this is decent. Robin can also be used in teams that are dot focused, like Black Swan and Kafka teams. Because she gives so much attack, it doesn't really matter that one of her buffs doesn't really find that much effect. Kafka and Black Swan may not be hitting crits on the regular, I don't know, maybe your Kafka is, but Robin is able to buff their damage and their attack, leading to more overall damage with this team, and then Ho-Ho's there for more attack as well. The other main thing is that with every single team that Robin is in, she's able to action forward these characters. So if your Dr. Ratio and Topaz are really close in speed, if your Jingyuan and Topaz are close in speed, and if your Black Swan and Kafka are close in speed, what you do is you go through both of these 2 characters, then you Robin ult, and they get to go again immediately. immediately. And in Kafka and Black Swan's case, this means that Kafka can read proc dots and Black Swan gets more Arcana stacks. But not only can Robin be used with 2 DPS characters, she can also just be used with a solo DPS character. She can be used in hyper carry teams just like Ruan Mei can. Ruan Mei gives a lot of damage bonus, and she also gives res pen. Robin is more focused on giving crit as well as attack. Instead of having a break extension, Robin has the ability to give you action forward instantly, and then you can do funny things like using Jingliu, going into Jingliu's enhanced state, Bronya Jingliu forward, Jingliu goes again, Robin, Jingliu goes again, Bronya brings Jingliu forward, Jingliu goes again, and it leads to some pretty fun shenanigans. Jingliu's the only character you can do this with. You can do this with any hyper carry character. As long as they scale on attack, you're gonna get a lot of benefit from Robin. She's an incredibly flexible character, and most DPS can benefit from Robin in the team. Now, a lot of creators said they're not gonna E6 S5 Robin, and they're incredibly based for that. Not that I believe them, they're probably still gonna do it, but let me tell you why it's not worth spending to get more than one copy of her.
Robin is the second character to die during the Penacony story. But don't worry, if you send your credit card number and the 3 digits on the back, you can... Getting your second copy of Robin will make her do what Ruan Mei does, with a 24% res pen active during Robin's ultimate. Ruan Mei enjoyers are rejoicing right now because she's 1% more res penetrative than Robin. Dies of cringe. Super big gains on damage for your team, but also not necessary. E2 is going to be a team speed buff during her ultimate, and 1 more energy per ally attack that hits. The speed isn't so crazy on this Eidolon that it's a game changer for everyone. This Eidolon is only situationally useful, so for the 7 people that zero cycle, it's really good. Otherwise, it's nice, but like the others, unnecessary. E3 is a skill and ultimate level up, and E4 is a team-wide cleanse on ult use, as well as a 50% effect res to your entire team. Now, to be fair, this cleanse only really matters if you don't have a cleansing sustainer or Aventurine with his effect res on your team. And even then, if you're not running a sustainer, you probably already know what you're doing enough to zero cycle MOC, and you're not going to need that cleanse anyways. Content's already going to be dead. Conceptually, it's broken. Realistically, it's not super necessary, but look how cute it is. Dude, I'm going to explode. E5 is just a basic and talent level up, and E6 is basically just turning Robin from a singer into a war criminal. It buffs her set crit damage of 150% by 450%, making her dish out a ton of damage from her ultimate. It can only be triggered 8 times, but if you have E6 Robin, your account probably isn't having any trouble beating all the enemies before that anyways. Between Eidolons and her light cone, I recommend going for... neither. None of them. Don't do it. Both her Eidolons and her light cone are absurdly valuable, and either E1 or S1 could massively benefit your Robin teams. But realistically, we're getting a light cone that works amazing on her already for free. So if you were forced to choose one, I'd go with E1 for her res pen. But overall, it's not really worth swiping for E1 over getting another character, especially with how strong Robin already is at E0. Thanks for watching, and let me know if you're muting Robin's song or not.